In 1884, Theodore Roosevelt lost his mother and his wife on the same day. His mother died of typhoid fever. His wife died of kidney failure 2 days after giving birth to their daughter. He was 25 years old. In his diary that night, he drew a large X and wrote 4 words: "The light has gone out." He went to the Dakota Badlands. He bought a cattle ranch. He threw himself into brutal physical labour, riding for 16 hours a day, sleeping under the stars, wrestling steers, hunting grizzly bears. He later said this period saved his life. 2 years later, he came back, and he never stopped. Theodore Roosevelt, who became the 26th President of the United States, the youngest in history, the winner of the Nobel Peace Prize, the trustbuster, the conservationist, the founder of the progressive movement, the man who charged up San Juan Hill, who navigated the river of doubt through the Amazon, who wrote 38 books, began as a sickly child who could barely breathe. He was born in 1858 in Manhattan to a wealthy New York family. He had asthma so severe that his family kept oxygen nearby at all times. He was small, weak, nearsighted, and frequently too ill to leave his room. His father told him, "Theodore, you have the mind but not the body. And without the body, the mind cannot go as far as it should." He made the body. He boxed. He lifted weights. He hiked. He swam. He wrestled. He turned himself through sheer stubbornness into a physical specimen. And that same stubbornness, that refusal to accept any limitation as permanent, became the defining fact of his character. He entered politics at 23 and immediately made enemies. He wore expensive suits and had a high-pitched voice and called people bully and delighted and cleaned up the New York Police Department by personally showing up at midnight to catch officers sleeping on duty. He was too much. Everyone said he was too much. He didn't care. He rose through the ranks not because he was tactful, but because he worked harder than anyone, and his positions were usually right. As Assistant Secretary of the Navy, he spent months preparing the fleet for a war with Spain, while his superiors hoped war wouldn't come. When it came, the Navy was ready. When his boss left for the afternoon, Roosevelt sent orders to the Pacific Fleet, positioning them to take the Philippines. He did it without authorization. He then resigned his office to lead the Rough Riders into Cuba. His charge up San Juan Hill, more accurately Kettle Hill, but history has its own preferences, was witnessed by dozens of reporters. He emerged from the war as a national hero, the most famous soldier in America. He became governor of New York at 40, president at 42 after McKinley was assassinated. What he did with that power was extraordinary. He broke up 44 monopolies, including Standard Oil and Northern Securities. He created the FDA to protect Americans from contaminated food and drugs. He established 150 national forests, 51 federal bird reservations, 5 national parks, 18 national monuments. He preserved 230 million acres of public land. He understood that power without restraint destroys. He had power, he restrained it, and he used it. On April 23, 1910, at the Sorbonne in Paris, he gave a speech called Citizenship in a Republic. One passage became the most famous thing he ever said. He called it "The Man in the Arena." It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs and comes up short again and again, but who knows the great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself for a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails, while daring greatly. He wasn't talking about politics. He was talking about life, about the choice between showing up and watching from the sidelines, about what it costs to actually try. After his presidency, he spent 14 months exploring the Congo. He then went to the Amazon with his son and a Brazilian explorer to map an unmapped river through the jungle. He nearly died. He contracted fever. He opened a leg wound that became infected. At one point, he begged his son to leave him behind. He was too sick to go on and didn't want to slow the team. His son refused. He made it back. The river bears his name, Rio Roosevelt. He ran for president a third time in 1912 on his own Progressive Party ticket. He was shot in the chest while getting into a car in Milwaukee. The bullet passed through his steel eyeglass case and a folded 50-page speech and lodged in his chest wall. He got on stage anyway. "It takes more than that to kill a bull moose," he told the crowd. He spoke for 90 minutes with a bullet in his chest. He didn't win in 1912. He was fine with that too. He died in 1919 at 60 years old, quietly, in his sleep. His son Archie sent a telegram to the other Roosevelt boys, who were all serving in World War I. "The old lion is dead." What he left behind was a country protected from its own worst instincts. A country where the government stood between corporations and the people, where wild land couldn't be swallowed by profit, where food was safe, where children couldn't be enslaved in factories. He had energy that embarrassed other men. He had courage that made fear look like laziness. He had a willingness to enter arenas, political, physical, intellectual, literal, that most people would never go near. And he did it all starting from sick. Do what you can, with what you have, where you are. That's it. That's the whole thing. Do what you can, with what you have, where you are, not later, not with more, not somewhere else. Now, this, here.